Biography of the first Caliph Abu Bakr Al Siddiq, the first rightly guided Caliph Abdullah bin Abi Quhafa, his characteristics and morals since the beginning of the Islamic message and its spread in the world. Part 4. We continue to narrate a stage in the life of the rightly guided Caliph Abu Bakr Al Siddiq. Military campaigns under Muhammad, Battle of Badr. In 624, Abu Bakr was involved in the first battle between the Muslims and the Quraysh of Mecca, known as the Battle of Badr, but did not fight, instead acting as one of the guards of Muhammad's tent. In relation to this, Ali later asked his associates as to who they thought was the bravest among men. Everyone stated that Ali was the bravest of all men. Ali then replied, "No. Abu Bakr is the bravest of men. In the Battle of Badr we had prepared a pavilion for the Prophet, but when we were asked to offer ourselves for the task of guarding it, none came forward except Abu Bakr. With a drawn sword he took his stand by the side of Prophet of Allah and guarded him from the infidels by attacking those who dared to proceed in that direction. He was therefore the bravest of men." In Sunni accounts, during one such attack, 2 discs from Abu Bakr's shield penetrated into Muhammad's cheeks. Abu Bakr went forward with the intention of extracting these discs, but Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah requested he leave the matter to him, losing his 2 incisors during the process. In these stories subsequently Abu Bakr, along with other companions, led Muhammad to a place of safety. Battle of Uhud. In 625, he participated in the Battle of Uhud, in which the majority of the Muslims were routed and he himself was wounded. Before the battle had begun, his son Abd al-Rahman, at that time still non-Muslim and fighting on the side of the Quraysh, came forward and threw down a challenge for a duel. Abu Bakr accepted the challenge but was stopped by Muhammad. In the second phase of the battle, Khalid ibn al-Walid's cavalry attacked the Muslims from behind, changing a Muslim victory to defeat. Battle of the Trench. In 627 he participated in the Battle of the Trench and also in the invasion of Banu Qurayza. In the Battle of the Trench, Muhammad divided the ditch into a number of sectors and a contingent was posted to guard each sector. One of these contingents was under the command of Abu Bakr. The enemy made frequent assaults in an attempt to cross the ditch, all of which were repulsed. To commemorate this event, a mosque, later known as Masjid Siddiq, was constructed at the site where Abu Bakr had repulsed the charges of the enemy. Battle of Khaybar. Abu Bakr took part in the Battle of Khaybar. Khaybar had 8 fortresses, the strongest and most well-guarded of which was called Al-Khamis. Muhammad sent Abu Bakr with a group of warriors to attempt to take it, but they were unable to do so. Muhammad also sent Umar with a group of warriors, but Umar could not conquer Al-Khamis either. Some other Muslims also attempted to capture the fort, but they were unsuccessful as well. Finally, Muhammad sent Ali, who defeated the enemy leader, Marhab. Military campaigns during final years of Muhammad. Main articles: Expedition of Amr ibn al-As, Conquest of Mecca, and Expedition of Tabuk. In 629 Muhammad sent Amr ibn al-As to Zat al-Salasal, followed by Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah in response to a call for reinforcements. Abu Bakr and Umar commanded an army under al-Jarrah, and they attacked and defeated the enemy. In 630, when the Muslims conquered Mecca, Abu Bakr was part of the army. Before the conquest of Mecca, his father Abu Quhafa converted to Islam. Battles of Hunain and Taif. In 630, the Muslim army was ambushed by archers from the local tribes as it passed through the valley of Hunain, some 11 miles northeast of Mecca. Taken unaware, the advance guard of the Muslim army fled in panic. There was considerable confusion, and the camels, horses and men ran into one another in an attempt to seek cover. Muhammad, however, stood firm. Only 9 companions remained around him, including Abu Bakr. Under Muhammad's instruction, his uncle Abbas shouted at the top of his voice, "O Muslims, come to the Prophet of Allah." The call was heard by the Muslim soldiers and they gathered beside Muhammad. When the Muslims had gathered in sufficient number, Muhammad ordered a charge against the enemy. In the hand-to-hand fight that followed, the tribes were routed and they fled to Adas. Muhammad posted a contingent to guard the Hunain Pass and led the main army to Adas. In the confrontation at Adas, the tribes could not withstand the Muslim onslaught. Believing continued resistance useless, the tribes broke camp and retired to Taif. Abu Bakr was commissioned by Muhammad to lead the attack against Taif. The tribes shut themselves in the fort and refused to come out in the open. The Muslims employed catapults, but without tangible result. The Muslims attempted to use a testudo formation, in which a group of soldiers shielded by a cover of cowhide advanced to set fire to the gate. However, the enemy threw red-hot scraps of iron on the testudo, rendering it ineffective. The siege dragged on for 2 weeks, and still there was no sign of weakness in the fort. Muhammad held a council of war. Abu Bakr advised that the siege might be raised and that God make arrangements for the fall of the fort. The advice was accepted, and in February 630, the siege of Taif was raised and the Muslim army returned to Mecca. A few days later, Malik bin Auf, the commander, came to Mecca and became a Muslim. Abu Bakr as Emir al-Hajj. In 630 to 631, A9, Muhammad assigned Abu Bakr as the Emir al-Hajj to lead around 300 pilgrims from Medina to Mecca. In 631 AD, Muhammad sent from Medina a delegation of 300 Muslims to perform the Hajj according to the new Islamic way and appointed Abu Bakr as the leader of the delegation. The day after Abu Bakr and his party had left for the Hajj, Muhammad received a new revelation, Surah Tawbah, the 9th chapter of the Quran. It is related that when this revelation came, someone suggested to Muhammad that he should send news of it to Abu Bakr. Muhammad said that only a man of his house could proclaim the revelation. Muhammad summoned Ali and asked him to proclaim a portion of Surah Tawbah to the people on the day of sacrifice when they assembled at Mina. Ali went forth on Muhammad's slit-eared camel and overtook Abu Bakr. When Ali joined the party, Abu Bakr wanted to know whether he had come to give orders or to convey them. Expedition of Abu Bakr as Siddiq. Abu Bakr led one military expedition, the expedition of Abu Bakr as Siddiq, which took place in Najd, in July 628, 3rd month 7 AH in the Islamic calendar. Abu Bakr led a large, vague company in Najd on the order of Muhammad. Many were killed and taken prisoner. The Sunni Hadith collection Sunan Abu Dawud mentions the event. Expedition of Usama bin Zayd. In 632, during the final weeks of his life, Muhammad ordered an expedition into Syria to avenge the defeat of the Muslims in the Battle of Mu'tah some years previously. Leading the campaign was Usama ibn Zayd, whose father, Muhammad's erstwhile adopted son Zayd ibn Haritha, had been killed in the earlier conflict. No more than 20 years old, inexperienced and untested, Usama's appointment was controversial, becoming especially problematic when veterans such as Abu Bakr, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah and Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas were placed under his command. Nevertheless, the expedition was dispatched, though soon after setting off, news was received of Muhammad's death, forcing the army to return to Medina. The campaign was not re-engaged until after Abu Bakr's ascension to the caliphate, at which point he chose to reaffirm Usama's command, which ultimately led to its success. Death of Muhammad. There are a number of traditions regarding Muhammad's final days which have been used to reinforce the idea of the great friendship and trust which has existed between him and Abu Bakr. In one such episode, as Muhammad was nearing death, he found himself unable to lead prayers as he usually would. He instructed Abu Bakr to take his place, ignoring concerns from Aisha that her father was too emotionally delicate for the role. Abu Bakr subsequently took up the position, and when Muhammad entered the prayer hall one morning during Fajr prayers, Abu Bakr attempted to step back to let him to take up his normal place and led. Muhammad, however, allowed him to continue. In a related incident, around this time, Muhammad ascended the pulpit and addressed the congregation, saying, "God has given his servant the choice between this world and that which is with God, and he has chosen the latter." Ali said that he had not come to replace Abu Bakr as Emir al-Hajj, and that his only mission was to convey a special message to the people on behalf of Muhammad. At Mecca, Abu Bakr presided at the Hajj ceremony, and Ali read the proclamation on behalf of Muhammad. The main points of the proclamation were: henceforward the non-Muslims were not to be allowed to visit the Kaaba or perform the pilgrimage. No one should circumambulate the Kaaba naked. Polytheism was not to be tolerated. Where the Muslims had any agreement with the polytheists, such agreements would be honored for the stipulated periods. Where there were no agreements, a grace period of 4 months was provided, and thereafter no quarter was to be given to the polytheists. From the day this proclamation was made, a new era dawned, and Islam alone was to be supreme in Arabia. Expedition of Abu Bakr as Siddiq. Abu Bakr led one military expedition, the expedition of Abu Bakr as Siddiq, which took place in Najd, in July 628, 3rd month 7 AH in the Islamic calendar. Abu Bakr led a large, vague company in Najd on the order of Muhammad. Many were killed and taken prisoner. The Sunni Hadith collection Sunan Abu Dawud mentions the event. Expedition of Usama bin Zayd. In 632, during the final weeks of his life, Muhammad ordered an expedition into Syria to avenge the defeat of the Muslims in the Battle of Mu'tah some years previously. Leading the campaign was Usama ibn Zayd, whose father, Muhammad's erstwhile adopted son Zayd ibn Haritha, had been killed in the earlier conflict. No more than 20 years old, inexperienced and untested, Usama's appointment was controversial, becoming especially problematic when veterans such as Abu Bakr, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah and Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas were placed under his command. Nevertheless, the expedition was dispatched, though soon after setting off, news was received of Muhammad's death, forcing the army to return to Medina. The campaign was not re-engaged until after Abu Bakr's ascension to the caliphate, at which point he chose to reaffirm Usama's command, which ultimately led to its success. Death of Muhammad. There are a number of traditions regarding Muhammad's final days which have been used to reinforce the idea of the great friendship and trust which has existed between him and Abu Bakr. In one such episode, as Muhammad was nearing death, he found himself unable to lead prayers as he usually would. He instructed Abu Bakr to take his place, ignoring concerns from Aisha that her father was too emotionally delicate for the role. Abu Bakr subsequently took up the position, and when Muhammad entered the prayer hall one morning during Fajr prayers, Abu Bakr attempted to step back to let him to take up his normal place and led. Muhammad, however, allowed him to continue. In a related incident, around this time, Muhammad ascended the pulpit and addressed the congregation, saying, "God has given his servant the choice between this world and that which is with God, and he has chosen the latter." Abu Bakr, understanding this to mean that Muhammad did not have long to live, responded, "Nay, we and our children will be your ransom." Muhammad consoled his friend and ordered that all the doors leading to the mosque be closed aside from that which led from Abu Bakr's house, for I know no one who is a better friend to me than he. Upon Muhammad's death, the Muslim community was unprepared for the loss of its leader and many experienced a profound shock. Umar was particularly affected, instead declaring that Muhammad had gone to consult with God and would soon return, threatening anyone who would say that Muhammad was dead. Abu Bakr, having returned to Medina, calmed Umar by showing him Muhammad's body, convincing him of his death. He then addressed those who had gathered at the mosque, saying, "If anyone worships Muhammad, Muhammad is dead. If anyone worships God, God is alive, immortal," thus putting an end to any idolizing impulse in the population. He then concluded with verses from the Quran, "O Muhammad, verily you will die, and they also will die." 39-30. Muhammad is no more than an apostle, and indeed many apostles have passed away. He then concluded with verses from the Quran, "O Muhammad, verily you will die, and they also will die." 39-30. Muhammad is no more than an apostle, and indeed many apostles have passed away before him. If he dies or is killed, will you then turn back on your heels? And he who turns back on his heels, not the least harm will he do to Allah, and Allah will give reward to those who are grateful. 3-144. Caliphate, Saqifa. In the immediate aftermath of Muhammad's death, a gathering of the Ansar took place in the Saqifa courtyard of the Banu Sa'idah clan. The general belief at the time was that the purpose of the meeting was for the Ansar to decide on a new leader of the Muslim community among themselves, with the intentional exclusion of the Muhajirun, migrants from Mecca, though this has later become the subject of debate. Nevertheless, Abu Bakr and Umar, upon learning of the meeting, became concerned of a potential coup and hastened to the gathering. Upon arriving, Abu Bakr addressed the assembled men with a warning that an attempt to elect a leader outside of Muhammad's own tribe, the Quraysh, would likely result in dissension, as only they can command the necessary respect among the community. He then took Umar and Abu Ubaidah by the hand and offered them to the Ansar as potential choices. Habab ibn Mundir, a veteran from the Battle of Badr, countered with his own suggestion that the Quraysh and the Ansar choose a leader each from among themselves, who would then rule jointly. The group grew heated upon hearing this proposal and began to argue amongst themselves. The moment was critical. The unity of the faith was at stake. A divided power would fall to pieces, and all might be lost. The mantle of the Prophet must fall upon one successor, and on one alone. The sovereignty of Islam demanded an undivided caliphate, and Arabia would acknowledge no master but from amongst Quraysh. Umar hastily took Abu Bakr's hand and swore his own allegiance to the latter, an example followed by the gathered men. The meeting broke up when a violent scuffle erupted between Umar and the chief of the Banu Sa'idah, Sa'd ibn Ubaidah. This event suggests that the choice of Abu Bakr was not unanimous, with emotions running high as a result of the disagreement. Abu Bakr was near universally accepted as head of the Muslim community, under the title of Caliph, as a result of Saqifa, though he did face contention because of the rushed nature of the event. Several companions, most prominent among them being Ali ibn Abi Talib, initially refused to acknowledge his authority. However, after 6 months the group made peace with Abu Bakr and Ali offered him his allegiance. Accession. After assuming the office of Caliph, Abu Bakr's first address was as follows: "I have been given the authority over you, and I am not the best of you. If I do well, help me, and if I do wrong, set me right. Sincere regard for truth is loyalty, and disregard for truth is treachery. The weak amongst you shall be strong with me until I have secured his rights, if God wills, and the strong amongst you shall be weak with me until I have wrested from him the rights of others, if God wills. Obey me so long as I obey God and his messenger. But if I disobey God and his messenger, you owe me no obedience. Arise for your prayer, God have mercy upon you." Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya 6-305, 306. Abu Bakr's reign lasted for 27 months, during which he crushed the rebellion of the Arab tribes throughout the Arabian Peninsula in the successful Ridda Wars. In the last months of his rule, he sent Khalid ibn al-Walid on conquests against the Sassanid Empire in Mesopotamia and against the Byzantine Empire in Syria. This would set in motion a historical trajectory, continued later on by Umar and Uthman ibn Affan, that in just a few short decades would lead to one of the largest empires in history. He had little time to pay attention to the administration of state, though state affairs remained stable during his caliphate. On the advice of Umar and Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, he agreed to draw a salary from the state treasury and discontinue his cloth trade. I stop at this point today. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring the world's incredible stories. Soon we will publish Part 5. Thank you for watching.